Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is now 5:30, and I will call this regular meeting of the Burnsville City Council to order. It is our tradition to stand for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have announcements this evening. Our announcements have to do with all of our upcoming meetings. Regular council meetings are scheduled for Tuesday, July 2nd, which is canceled due to the holiday. And we have Tuesday, July 16th at 5:30 p.m. And we have a work session scheduled for Tuesday, July 9th at 5:30 p.m. All meetings are held here in the council chambers. And we are in the midst of our budgets. And in the spirit of transparency, our budget meetings are scheduled for the review of the maximum tax levy, and the capital improvement plan is scheduled for Tuesday, September 10th. We have department presentations scheduled at that time as well. We have the adoption of the max tax levy. That's Tuesday, September 17th at 5:30 p.m. We have a budget work session scheduled for Tuesday, October 29th at 5:30 p.m. Another budget work session on Tuesday, November 12th at 5:30 p.m. And then we adopt the levy and the budget on Tuesday, December 3rd at 5:30 p.m. And the public is invited to all of our budget meetings. And if not, we'll also have a budget on the website, and we will have that virtual interactive experience on the website for the budget. And all meetings are held here in the council chambers. This evening, we have a representative from the Minnesota Parks and Recreation who will present an award of excellence for Archer Park. And Mr. Beck, are you going to introduce our guest?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm pleased on behalf of our Parks and Recreation Department to be introducing Tracy Peterson. She's here on behalf of our Minnesota Recreation and Parks Association. Annually, they reach out to the state to find out about innovative things that are going on, to hear about excellent projects and whatnot. And we were able to submit one for Archer Park, and are excited to have her here this evening to present that award.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I appreciate your having me. As Garrett mentioned, I'm Tracy Peterson. I'm a member of the awards committee for MRPA, which is the Minnesota Recreation and Park Association. I'm also the director in Shoreview. It's an honor to be here tonight to present an award to Burnsville for Archer Park. I just want to take a few minutes to tell you about the association. It was formed in 1937 to foster the development and growth of parks and recreation throughout the state. There's about 900 members currently as a part of the association. In 1987, the awards committee was formed with the purpose of acknowledging individuals and agencies who had projects that represented parks and recreation. The members consist of a cross-section of corporate, professional retirees from across the state. The goal is to increase appreciation and awareness for parks, trails, facilities, programs, and services in our state. MRPA members, we may nominate an award for 6 different categories: administrative or management strategies, marketing and communications, park and facility, programming and events, sponsorships, or volunteer initiatives. On behalf of the awards committee, it is my pleasure tonight to present an MRPA award to the city of Burnsville for Archer Park. The committee appreciated Burnsville's unique, innovative, and forward-thinking approach to finding a safe site to meet the needs of the Burnsville archery community. We were also impressed with the collaborative approach in working with the archery community and with thinking creatively to meet the project budget. The awards committee would like to recognize Garrett Beck, who nominated this project for an award of excellence, as well as John Schaefer from Schaefer Archery and Stantec for working cohesively together to build one of the nicest ranges in the state and one of the top in the Midwest. Again, congratulations to the city of Burnsville.
Thank you, Ms. Peterson. And Mr. Beck is there to receive that award. Thank you. Thank you. One other announcement, on June 26th through the 28th, a quorum of the Burnsville City Council will be participating in the League of Minnesota Cities Annual Conference in Duluth, Minnesota. So no official action will be taken at this meeting that the majority of the council will be present at. But I need to just let everyone know that the council will be at the League of Minnesota Cities Annual Conference in Duluth. The next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is the opportunity for anyone in the audience to address the council on an item that is not on the printed agenda and not in application form that will be coming before us at a future date. Is there anyone who wishes to address the council? Seeing no one, we will move on. The next is for emergency items only, and this is additions to the final agenda. Ms. Mascoli, are there any emergency items?
There are not, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Members of the council? Thank you. Now we move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda is a group of items that's considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. However, an item on the consent agenda can be removed for a separate discussion and vote. Is there anyone who wishes an item on the consent agenda to be removed for a separate discussion and vote? Ms. Mascali?
No, Madam Mayor.
Members of the council? May I have a motion to adopt the consent agenda, please?
Move to approve.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and the motion carries. Thank you. We now move on to the first item on the regular agenda, and that is 5A. And this is a public hearing to approve a wine and 3.2% on-sale license for Cheers Pablo Burnsville LLC, doing business as Cheers Pablo Burnsville, located at 13915 Aldrich Avenue South. Presenting this evening, our city clerk, Ms. Collins.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, City Council. Yes, this evening we do have to have a public hearing this evening for Cheers Pablo because during the renewal process, it was discovered that they are changing ownership effective July 1st, which would be the renewal date, and also that they are intending to change the location. Their location now is on Aldrich Avenue South, and they're going to be moving to Travelers Trail. At this time, the new license information has been sent to the Alcohol and Gambling Enforcement for inspection and approval. The main principals involved in this license have been investigated and nothing was found to deny the license. Ms. Ellenson is here, available this evening if you have any questions. This is a public hearing. I stand for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Collins? Thank you. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Seeing no one, I will close the public hearing. I think we're familiar. Is there anything particular that you want to address or not?
I guess not. I think I had to reapply for another one once I moved though, like, you know what I mean, or don't I have to reapply for another?
Thank you. Just come up to the podium over here. But I think you're good. I think everything, you've already applied for your liquor license and a change of ownership. It's all in this.
Okay, perfect, yep. And I have, my insurance policy is coming, for the limited liability
Yeah,
liquor.
that's,
That's
yeah.
coming through, and everything should be in order.
That's
All is good. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah,
Okay.
we need your big silver scissors.
Okay, yes. When you're ready to do that, we'll be there.
Yes, thank you so
Okay.
very much.
Thank you, Ms. Allison.
Thank you.
Okay, members of the council, I need a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve them.
And Councilmember Schultz makes the motion.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Workman. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay, and a motion carries. Congratulations. Yeah. Look forward to your opening. When do you open?
I hope to be open sometime beginning of August.
Okay.
So I think like August 2nd is a Saturday. I'm gonna have like a soft open then and maybe grand opening a week later, just so maybe I'm a little.
Okay, very
Yeah,
good.
it's right in your neighborhood.
Yes, I know.
So you come and see.
I will.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, congratulations. The next item is 5B, and this is a public hearing. This is an Economic Development Authority proposal to adopt a modification to the development program for the development of District Number 1 to establish tax increment financing, District Number 9, and to adopt a tax increment financing plan, and to enter into a business subsidy agreement. Presenting this evening is Mr. Nienhuis, Economic Development Coordinator. Good evening, Mr. Nienhuis.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The application before you is focused on two parcels on River Ridge Circle. You may recall that about a decade ago, there was a hotel on these two parcels that was demolished. The land has been vacant for that decade, and the applicant purchased the land last year. They are looking to maximize the site with an 81,000 square foot office warehouse facility. And in order to allow them to do that, they are asking for the creation of a TIF district. The site has some slopes to it. They are going to be building retaining walls that will probably be about 13 feet high, plus a lot of earthwork and a lot of soils work. The TIF would be specifically to offset that additional work that will be needed to do to maximize the site. It will be an economic development district, so it will have a 9-year life. And we are looking at, in today's value, $247,000 worth of TIF to do that site prep. The agreement also calls for there to be at least 20 jobs at least $20 an hour in the agreement. The Economic Development Commission reviewed this at their May meeting, and they had a question regarding whether we could require that the developer utilize enhanced building materials to get the TIF. We have checked with our legal counsel. That is something that council and EDA could do if you so desire. The EDC referenced the fact that the project would be in the gateway to Burnsville. We actually do have a gateway district there. These two parcels are not in the gateway district. So they would not be bound by the gateway design framework. Staff would recommend that if you do want to have enhanced materials, that you utilize our architectural handout and request that they do either better or best out of that handout. And we can obviously add that to the development agreement if that is the desire of council and the EDA. That also, we think, brings up a larger policy question. If you want to do that for this TIF district, you may want to consider on the larger policy issue, do you want to have that be amended to our business subsidy policy and require enhanced materials whenever we give TIF? The EDC did recommend the creation of this district, and staff also recommends the adoption of the resolution to create the district and to give the business subsidy. The developer is here. The developer would like to address council regarding his plans, and with your approval, Madam Mayor, I'd like to ask Mr. Allen to come up and talk to the council.
Thank you. Mr. Allen, welcome.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, Skip, thank you. Nice to be here. I can tell you that I get here too infrequently. I wish I could come to Burnsville on projects more often, but unfortunately, you don't have a lot of opportunity with vacant sites. This is an extraordinarily good one. We're very familiar with Burnsville. We've done 4 projects down here in the Burnsville marketplace over the last 25 years. All of them have always been full. They're always full of really high quality companies, whether they be local, regional, or national type organizations. And usually when we get a call, we have to say, we can't accommodate you because we don't have any vacancy. And those calls usually end up going past Burnsville down to Lakeville or over west to Savage or Shakopee for facilities that can accommodate the type of requirements that this new proposed facility could accommodate. And so I think it's always an exciting opportunity to be at a cutoff point where we can be taking some of those really attractive companies and leaving them and keeping them or growing them in Burnsville. We've lost a number of companies over the years that used to house with us, but we couldn't expand. We do backfill them, but that's always tough losing companies, and some of those that went to our facilities in Egan as well. This site is the poster child for a tax increment financing district. I've been in this business for 35 years. I understand the but-for test. We won't develop the site without this TIF package because it has a combination of problems. Number one, when they built the hotel, they bought a lot of fill in, so it's loose fill. So we have to correct the fill beneath the pad and the footings. You have to pull it up and recorrect it and recompact it because it never was properly compacted. Obviously, to get enough building on the site to attract the type of users we want and to create the tax base I think the city wants and create the employment base that the city wants, we're going to have to do underground storage for stormwater. Big plastic tanks that go underground. We've used it successfully in other areas, but that's a big inexpensive cost, as well as the retaining walls that we have to hold back the sites on. And so all said, grading, correction, soil, stormwater control is up to over $900,000 on the site. Extraordinary costs that I don't normally run into in other sites. And so I think that it really is a very easy site for the but-for test to be satisfied with. What do I see for this building? I see something at the gateway of the community. I've heard Skip talk about enhanced products. Nobody's ever asked industrial equities to build a better looking building. I mean, we build the best looking buildings in the marketplace. This building will have Casota stone and brick. It's got over $200,000 of glass in the building. You just aren't going to upgrade this any more than it's already upgraded. We set a pretty high standard for what we build typically. Over the last 35 years, we have always built to hold. This is one that we'll want to hold in our portfolio. It's a terrific location, and I think that we can pull some of those tenants that are now going to Lakeville or Savage or Shakopee or Egan, or bring them to this marketplace, or keep them in the marketplace with a facility like this. We don't have this type of product in Burnsville in the base that's necessary to satisfy the demand. If we had that type of product, a lot of multi-tenant, small bay buildings, that would have been probably an easy thing to build on this site. But it's not really what this market wants, and it's certainly not going to have the corporate image and presence that this facility will have facing Highway 13 and 35W. So, in summary, the but-for test is easily satisfied here, and it's what you can provide falls far short of what I'm going to spend. We are already upgrading the product above and beyond anything that anybody else does in the marketplace with the Casota stone and the brick, similar to a project we just completed on the Interstate 694 and East River Road in the city of Fridley. Have you been by that new intersection there? We've just built 400,000 feet there in two different buildings. But the head economic development guy, your counterpart, Scott Hickok, called me a couple of days ago and said, we get so many positive comments about that building on that site, and wondering how it sat vacant for so long. I wonder the same thing, but I think we've got a great solution here. We've got a long track record with the city of Burnsville delivering high quality tenants and great tax base and little or no problems. And we think this represents an exciting opportunity for us to continue that tradition.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. And it is a prominent site.
Yes.
Overlooking the freeway coming into the city of Burnsville, and it sits on a high hill.
Yeah,
So
it's a terrific
I
site. We'll take maximum advantage of it. You will be very happy with what the presence it has at the gateway to Burnsville.
I've worked with you on all of your buildings in Burnsville, and they've been all great.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Questions from Mr. Allen? Councilmember Keeley.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for investing in Burnsville. Once again, after it sounds like a few years of departure. One of the things that I've noticed in the last 13 years I've been on council, and it probably went prior to that, is the office selection. The office product in Burnsville has been a little difficult. It's older product, it's very affordable in many ways, and generally stays relatively full. But it seemed to me that there was always this demand and expansion, Class A buildings being built everywhere else, but why wasn't Burnsville, with our significant I-35 joining geographical location that we brag about in a lot of other ways, why weren't we attracting product? And clearly the land availability is one thing. So when this project, when our city manager brought this to my attention in our one-on-one, I was delighted that someone was willing to come to Burnsville, bring a Class A office product, put it right next to the highway, and unlock what I believe is a tremendous amount of pent-up office warehouse demand in our city for that kind of product. And I also believe that it's going to be a trigger point that could also help motivate some other building and landowners to maybe redevelop and bring some newer office product space available. Because, you look around us, you have all these growing companies, these young companies, tech companies, medical companies, and the offices are, they're being built in Bloomington, they're being built in other burbs, inner burbs, they're being built in Eagan, and thinking that Burnsville is this great location with a great opportunity. We just don't have that building product. So you are filling a need, much like I felt our high-end amenity-rich rental projects are now filling a need, which we didn't offer. I mean, we had very little to anything in a modern design, amenity-rich rental. Now we're looking for a void, I believe, that needs to be filled when it comes to office space. And when you put a building in, and we've talked about, as you're aware, removing the height restrictions in that area, this becomes a linchpin to unlock a lot more development coming down the road, and I think it puts Burnsville on the map for companies to look at Burnsville, because we're going to have a product that actually is going to meet their needs and what they're looking for, as you noted. So I personally, when this was presented as a 41,000 or an 80,000 with a TIF, to me, it was not that difficult of a decision to wring my hands around from a TIF standpoint, because an 80,000 square foot Class A building at our gateway is a great way for people to come in, and it's going to fill a need we have. So I'm in full support, and I appreciate you're willing to do it.
Thank you.
Councilmember Schultz.
I have a question, and this may be for staff. Of course, it may also be for my fellow city councilors. What is the occupancy rate or the unoccupancy rate for our office buildings currently in Burnsville?
I would say Mr. Nienhuis.
Councilmember, I unfortunately cannot give you an exact figure, but I will tell you that the product before us tonight is an office warehouse facility.
Mm-hmm.
Those are in vast demand and have very low vacancy. Our pure office product does have some vacancy in it. I would say we're probably in the 18 to 20% vacancy in the pure office, but that's not the product we're talking about tonight.
Okay. Mr. Nienhuis, this product that is being proposed tonight, is with 24 to 28-foot ceilings. What do we have in Burnsville that's 24 to 28-foot ceilings today?
Virtually nothing.
That's exactly it, because we were going to lose Showcraft.
Correct.
But for finding a way to keep Showcraft, because they needed, I think it was 28-foot ceiling, and we found a way for that. But we do not have a product with a 24 to 28-foot ceiling in Burnsville. Is that correct?
That is correct, Madam Mayor, and I think as Mr. Allen referred to when he made his presentation, that is one of the reasons we do lose existing businesses to other communities that have the newer product with the higher ceilings. Mm-hmm. It is one of the great demands that we aren't satisfying right now.
Okay. Councilmember Gustafson.
I was confused. You're talking about a Class A office building. You're not building in a Class A office building, what I saw in the
It's an
background.
office warehouse.
You're building
Office
a warehouse, okay.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between those. That's why I was confused
Yeah.
on that.
No.
Isn't the United Properties warehousing 28+ feet down there over by Menards and all that? Aren't those all high ceiling warehouses they built back there a few years ago?
I don't know the exact
I
height,
believe they are.
council member, but they're
Nobody
virtually
builds anything
full.
less than that anymore.
It's
So
not-
we do have that product in the city. I'm just trying to clarify that.
We do have the
Yes.
product, they're virtually full.
Yep, okay. So, and I understand what our economic development people were talking about. You may not be in the gateway district, but you are definitely a gateway to the city, because as the mayor alluded to, it's Highville. Anybody that lived here during the days of Fana Suites knows that you come up that freeway, you will see what's on the top of that hill. And so I have seen your buildings. You do build nice buildings. I do get a little concerned. I didn't see a chart in here of the but-for test. We used to get a worksheet, and have we changed doing that? I don't think we've done TIF since I've been back. But we used to get a worksheet in here, and I didn't see it, and if I
Yeah.
missed it, I apologize.
Yeah. Mr. Nienhuis?
Council member, you are correct. We probably in years past did have a worksheet. We did not ask Ellers, our financial advisor, to provide that worksheet. We can certainly get you a worksheet if you so desire.
I think that'd be helpful, I've always been under the illusion or the thought process that a TIF goes to a piece of property that's hard to develop, and it needs TIF to just even develop it. And we're kind of talking about that we can develop this property at this level, but if we want it at this level, then we have to talk about TIF on it. And those are different things, and I think what the pure TIF was all about, was brought to us for. I thought it was more to deal with undeveloped land that have some real issues with them, or buildings that need to come down, that sort of thing, that wouldn't happen unless a TIF did happen. But I do appreciate what you were saying about the land remediation that you have to do in the underground. That also was not in here with the underground tanks and all that, so I was missing a lot of that information as I'm trying to figure out what we're gonna do with this thing tonight.
Right, and I can assure you, as I said, 35 years and 3.5 million feet of development. I'm scratching my head why I'm doing this for 270,000, because I'm gonna have 900,000 in extraordinary costs. With the correction of the soil, the underground tanks. Now, I wouldn't have to do underground tanks if I was only to do 40,000 square feet, but that would mean for the next 60 years, the city would get 40,000 square feet less at today's rate, 2.25 foot in taxes, so another 80,000 a year. It's short money for the long-term investment that you're gonna have. And then on top of that, 80,000 square feet gives you a target this big for possible tenants. If you build a 40,000 square foot, you get a target this big. You might as well be shooting with a shotgun then. And so what we're proposing here is to take advantage of what you and I correctly agree on. It is a gateway site, and we're gonna attract, on the corner of a hot 100%, we're gonna attract a hot 100% users on this site. There'll be economic zoning. We'll be able to attract the very best and most desirable tenants to this site, because everybody wants that 130,000 cars a day visibility to 35W. And so it makes sense to make that minor upfront investment to create the longer-term tax base. And that's what TIF is about too, is expanding tax base and increasing jobs. Those are some of the core values of the tax increment finance at the state level.
Thank you.
Okay,
If I could, Madam Mayor?
yes.
Council member, I believe what you might be remembering is from some of the work we did in Heart of the City.
Yep.
Those were redevelopment districts.
That's right.
Those are 25-year districts, and they are specifically, as you said, to
But
help
for-
take down buildings and redevelop. The Economic Development District is a much newer district, and as noted in your background, it is specifically to attract manufacturing, office, warehouse, telemarketing, and it's a much shorter time frame of 9 years. So there is some
And
difference
thank you
in
for
those
that
districts.
clarification. And the one thing, I want to mention, especially to our citizens, we don't do a lot of TIF in this city. We don't have a lot of TIF districts. We're not playing with that all the time, like,
Nope.
footloose and fancy free, as you want to, whatever you want to call it. But I do recall having those worksheets, and so that was my angst and all this thing. Like, I don't see the but-for in here. It's like, all right, you can build this building, or you can build that building.
The but-for piece is the work
I
that
started
Mr.
hearing
Allen
that
has
from the applicant.
described that he needs to do.
Okay, Councilmember Schultz.
I too would find that information extremely helpful to go forward. I really would. You know, and no, I am not in favor of placing any added materials restrictions on you. Your property is your property. Likewise, I am completely in favor on raising the height however high you wish to go. Again, it's your property, that's your property. I also understand that you're looking at the benefits of, both to yourself and to the city, of a smaller development versus a larger development as well. But I need to see a little more on that, and I too would like to see a little bit more on that need laid out, because we are talking about one size of building versus another size of building. And the other thing that I come back to is, you made the purchase of this property knowing what the property is. It wasn't a surprise
Oh,
as
no,
to what the property could do.
I wouldn't characterize it as that. I bought the property in 12 hours. It was a
Yeah.
tax forfeiture. It was gonna be sold at a tax forfeiture. So we bought the property on the strength of our understanding that it was a TIF property, talking with the mayor and saying, is this something, based on our history and our track record and tradition in the city, you want us to pursue? Do you think this is something that we should pursue? And so when we bought the property, I didn't know that the soils were so loose, and that the condition of the site sloped so dramatically to the highway. And so, probably should have taken more time, but you know, it gets back to my opening comment. I wish I could be standing in front of you more often, because Burnsville is a town I like to do business in, and I get invited into communities across the metropolitan area to do redevelopments in TIF districts because of our reputation of doing the highest quality products out there. I've done 4 projects in Burnsville. I've not been before you on a TIF on half of those. This one, I'm here because it won't happen. It'll sit there, it's been sat there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right.
It can't work right now. It makes no sense to me. As I look at it now, I scratch my head. Other than I know that we'll make a bigger investment than this when we would. There'll be what they're called extraordinary investments. That's what satisfies the debt for, the soil correction, the stormwater, the retaining walls. If we don't do that, we won't do a 40,000 square foot building. We just can't make any sense out of it. It would be underbuilding the site, and we'll just walk away. We'll sell the site. We'll put the site back on the market. And so it isn't a question of will I do a 40 or an 80. I won't do a 40. And you know, nothing will happen on the site this year then, because if you're not in the ground, if we're not in the ground here in the next 2 weeks, we're not going to be in the ground in 2019. We'll be another year before we get into the ground on this site, because by the time you get your parking lot in and get everything done on the site, you get another October winter like we had last year. And so I can tell you historically, when we didn't have sites, we didn't need it, we weren't in front of you. This is a site that's all verifiable. I can show you my grading, I can show you the tanks, the city engineers can show you that, the tanks, I mean, the retaining walls, it's all on the plan. Those are sites that you don't typically have when you go to Lakeville, when I go to Egan, when I go to Shakopee or Savage. Those aren't costs that you run into. And so to develop this the way everybody, I think, wants to, we all agree on this. We all want a gateway project. To do that on this site and to have the biggest target of users you're going to have, you're going to want to build an 80,000 square foot tenant, because somebody's going to come along and they're going to say, why didn't we build 80,000 square feet? Just like 25 years ago, I begged you on Cliff Road and Travelers to let me have the building face Cliff Road, and don't make me put my dock doors facing Cliff Road. And the city council said, no, we want we want the residents to have the office in front of them. And it was a mistake. For 25 years now, that building is dock doors that face Cliff Roads. And I'm telling you right now, it would be a mistake not to move this forward. All the deals I've done, you know, I've done the corner of 494 and Dodd Road, I've done the corner of 694 and East River Road. This is as good as any of those are. It will be a great project for the city.
Mayor, if I may.
Councilmember Schultz.
what you do with your property is what you do with your property, and that is honestly my view. So while some may want a specific type of building on specific parcels, I don't. Once a person purchases that property, my outlook on this is that's yours to pretty much do what you want with, as long as you aren't going to harm anyone else in the development of that property. So I would not have been one of those people wanting you to have your dock face any which way. That would have been your business decision to make. But the question I want to ask you is, in this 12-hour turnaround to buy this piece of property, did you do so, and I'm seeking clarification on something you said right at the beginning of your statement on this, did you do so on reliance that you would be receiving TIF?
To purchase a property, the but-for test doesn't stand or fall on the fact that you own the property. The but-for test
Right.
applies to whether or not you're going to develop it. Will the project move forward under state statute, the but-for effect? Would the project move forward but for the fact that these funds, the tax increment financing funds, will be provided to prime the pump, to cover extraordinary costs, to seek the goals and the missions of the TIF financial statutes? And so the fact that I bought it expecting to get TIF or not, frankly, I didn't realize at the time, Kara, that we had loose soils.
Right.
And I didn't do a full layout on it. But I'm not standing here today saying correct a mistake I make. I'm saying if you want to maximize the site, if you want to maximize employment, if you want to create a tax base that's going to pay back the city for a minor investment in a very, very short period of time, I wish we could make this a 25-year redevelopment deal. That would be a better deal for me. But the fact, was I anticipating TIF? I wasn't thinking about it at the time. I was anticipating that it was in the city of Burnsville, where I had a long track record of great success, and that this council has long been a supporter of upgrading their industrial base. And that's what we've done in all of our projects, is update the existing base. You had the good news, you developed early in the 60s and early 70s because it was a great spot to be, Burnsville, and there wasn't much land in Bloomington. Unfortunately, if it had waited another 20 years, you'd have probably had more product that would have been more fitting to what the market is today. But the product we have in this marketplace, by and large, isn't going to bring in a large corporate user or a headquarter type guy that wants to get out of Bloomington because he doesn't have enough space, or wants to come out of the Edina area or over from Egan. We just don't have that type of product here, where they can have a sales and service and warehouse type of presence in a modern, efficient, with ESFR sprinkler system and 28-foot ceilings and the type of things. We just don't have that product here, which is the opportunity that I'm presenting to you and for myself. I see it as so clearly that it's a great upgrade opportunity for this city.
Mr. Nienhuis, can you speak to the way that we do TIF in the city of Burnsville on a pay-go basis and what the present value is on this TIF?
I can, Madam Mayor. All of our TIF is pay-go. So basically, the developer is fronting all of the cost. So the $900,000 that Mr. Allen refers to, he will be fronting. Once the building is built and is on the tax rolls, Mr. Allen will receive a check from the EDA every 6 months after those taxes have been paid, and the increment will be carved out of that. And as was noted in your background, he will need to supply us with documentation that he spent up to that $247,000 on this additional work that he needs to do, which, as he's referred to, is probably going to cost him upwards of $900. He also will need to provide us documentation that his tenants have the 20 jobs at least the $20 an hour. So there's a number of steps that he will need to go through prior to the 6-month increment payments going out.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Allen or Mr. Nienhuis? Okay. With that,
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
thank you, Mr. Allen. If there are no other questions, any discussion on the council? I believe this is a project that meets the goals that we have set forth with regard to economic development. It sets the goals for increasing the tax base. It meets the goals of all of the things that we have been talking about with regard to increasing and updating and improving the product level of our industrial district. So our commercial industrial district. So with that, I believe that it meets it. We are on a pay-go basis. He has to pay the taxes, and the increment from that pays for the development of the site.
Yeah.
Mr. Nienhuis.
Just a reminder, Madam Mayor, this is a public hearing.
Yes. I will, if there are no other discussions, I can close the public hearing.
We need to
I'm thinking
open it.
Oh, that's right. I need to open it. There's been a lot. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, if there are no other questions for the applicant and no more discussion on the dais, I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this item? There is no one. I will close the public hearing. Members of the council, your pleasure.
Move to approve the proposal as presented.
Okay, there is a motion.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Workman. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
And the clerk has the division of the House. Thank you. Councilmember Gustafson.
I just want to make a comment that, and I said it earlier while we were talking, we need more of this in our background when we get stuff like this at us, because I don't feel we had a lot for me to work with to make the proper decision. The applicant did a great job of presenting the case, which I think we could have presented in the background earlier, and I'd like to see more of that come to us.
Okay.
So noted.
Okay, very good. There's a motion and a second, and everybody has voted, and there was an addendum to a comment. And so we now move on to the economic development meeting. I will
Madam
now.
Mayor, if I please could, I am assuming since you did not add into your motion enhanced building materials that we're not going to be worrying about.
One of the things that we already have in place is a policy on our building materials. So, and I know the kind of product that Mr. Allen has done, and he's going to be at a very prominent location, and I know that he has great pride in the product that he has, because it has his name on the products, and so I know his product, not only in Burnsville, but in other communities, and we do have a policy in place. So, no, it has not been discussed, and therefore it is not something that I heard my colleagues are interested in. Okay, very good. I will now recess the Burnsville City Council meeting so the Economic Development Authority meeting can convene.
I will now call to order the Economic Development Authority meeting. Please let the record show all commissioners are present. Are there any additions to the final agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion.
Motion to approve consent.
Commissioner Keeley motions,
Second.
second by Commissioner Workman. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On the regular agenda, we will take up what we just discussed, a resolution approving a modification of the Development District Number 9, establishing tax increment district financing, District 9, and approving a tax increment financing plan, therefore, and authorizing execution of a contract for private development. Do we need any further discussion on this? Then I will entertain a
Or
motion.
another presentation.
Yeah, or another
by Mr.
presentation.
Greenhouse.
Move to approve.
Commissioner Cousett, motions, second by Commissioner Keeley. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Here?
And the motion passes.
Thank you.
And you have,
Seeing no miscellaneous items, we'll move to adjournment. I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
I'm starting to
Second.
feel like Melanie over there.
I will now
Get a motion in
reconvene.
a second. All in favor?
Aye.
I will now turn the meeting over to you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I will now reconvene the Burnsville City Council meeting, and we don't need to ratify the action that we already moved on at the beginning, so there are no other items to come before us. I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, please.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, say nay. And the motion carries. Good night, and thank you for being with us.